Hey, I'm Bara, and in this video I wanted to go over why Maslow's hierarchy of needs still matters today and for your own life. What I will cover is three things. First, I'll give a very quick overview of what this theory of basic needs is about. Then I will go into why this actually matters today. And lastly, I will give you a quick process you can use to directly apply this so that you can have a more fulfilled life. Okay, let's begin with number one. What is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So you can see behind me how it's basically this pyramid that you've probably seen before. And it's basically a theory of what motivates humans. And Maslow originally thought that each of these stages need to be fulfilled in order to move to the higher stage. So for instance, at the first stage, we have physiological needs, such as having shelter and having food. And his theory was that only once that is fulfilled can humans move to the next stage of motivation, which is security, and so on and so forth, all the way up to self-actualization, which would mean that all these other needs have to be met before humans can self-actualize. That's probably not the case. For instance, if we look at somebody like Viktor Frankl, who was in a concentration camp and probably self-actualized, even while very few of his lower needs, like the security and the physiological needs, were completely fulfilled. So today, people who are experts in this, from what I can tell, think that there's more of an overlapping between stages, that it's not one stage has to be completely fulfilled before we can move on to the next. So that's it for this very quick overview. Let's move on to why it matters today. Well, you might think this is, what does this have to do with my life? I mean, we live in a society where our needs are generally fulfilled, and some people, I don't know, they have really expensive cars, so why should we even bother to talk about basic human needs? Well, coincidentally, actually, in today's society, it's often the most privileged that don't have their basic needs fulfilled. So for instance, according to some studies by the National Sleep Institute, I believe more than half of Americans don't get like the 7 hours of sleep that are the minimum that's recommended. And it's even worse for people who are go-getters and who are CEOs and so on and so forth. So ironically, often, the more the first stages may be fulfilled, in some ways, the less they may be in other ways. So let's talk about how you can apply this to your own life. And I also have this all in a blog post, so you can go through this process if, this is a bit too quick for you. So number one, I'd like for you to consider the first stage, physiological needs. And this is stuff like food, water, and so sleep, and so on and so forth. And just think if your needs are met in that area. And if you're like a lot of people, you probably don't get enough sleep, or maybe, the food that you're getting is not that great, and so on and so forth. Then I would like you to think about the subsequent stage, security. And this can include things like job security, and so on and so forth. And just consider to what extent your needs are fulfilled in that area. After doing that, what I'd like you to do is to pick one area to focus on. So either the lowest one, the basic physiological needs, or the security needs. And then pick just one small thing you can do to get your needs met more. So for instance, let's say you realized, hey, I'm really not getting enough sleep. Well, one small step you could take to improve your sleep is to get a blue light filter, because blue light, it often interferes with people's abilities to fall asleep easily. Okay, so that's it. We quickly covered what this whole theory is about, why it actually still applies to our lives, and then I gave you a brief process that you can use to apply this to your own life. Again, I encourage you to go to the blog post and actually really go through this process and apply that, and I will see you in the next video.